everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So I am back. Feels really weird being in front of the camera again. I've not filmed a YouTube video for quite a while now, I must admit. I've been a little bit busy. I've had a baby in that time, which has been the most incredible but most whirlwind experience of my whole life. Which I think everybody says that, to be honest, when they have a baby, don't they? I was really hoping to get dressed up for this video and do my hair and all this kind of stuff, but I need to stop touching my hair. In fact, I'm going to put it up because I feel like I'm just going to keep touching it. Yes, but mum life. Yeah, I really want to do my hair for this video, get dressed up, feel like really nice, but to be honest, I've been trying to film it for the last week, if not longer, and I keep not putting it off because I don't want to do it, but because I never really get a minute. If you're a new mum, you will understand, or a mum in general, then you'll understand that, like, when people say I don't have a minute when I'm a mum, they mean it. We really don't have a minute, even with a newborn who sleeps a lot. But yeah, I've been using my sleep times a lot been using his sleep times for me to sleep, or to catch up on work, or to clean the house, or do whatever. And to be honest, he hasn't been doing a great deal of sleeping really, because he's had a lot of reflux the last few days. We've gone for a bit of a cluster feeding spell and now a bit of a reflux spell, so yeah, he's a little bit unsettled, but we have just been out for a nice walk, so he's in his pram just over there having a nice little sleep. So hopefully he will let me film this video so I can get it up. I'd love to be able to edit it today too. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Yeah, this is my birth story video. I've been wanting to get this up, like I say, for ages. I've had quite a few messages asking if it's coming, when it's coming, so I'm really sorry it's delayed, but here we are. So let's get started. So I don't even think I updated anything on YouTube or Instagram about what was happening kind of with my birth. So about 34 weeks, my bump started getting picked up on the growth scans, on the measurements, as quite big, which wasn't a surprise. I was quite big throughout my whole pregnancy. I had quite a big bump, and I knew I was going to have a big baby, but yeah, it got picked up pretty big. Never over the line basically until 34 weeks, and then they basically started sending me for growth scans. So I had a growth scan at 36 weeks, and then I had a growth scan at 38 weeks, and baby was always measuring quite big, just over the 90th centile, which I actually don't really know exactly what it means, but if you're pregnant, you'll know, like, roughly. Basically, it means it's quite a big baby if it goes over the 90th. It means that they usually like to intervene with some sort of growth scan or a gestational diabetes test, which I had done, and I didn't have gestational diabetes. Turns out I just grow big babies. So yeah, so I had a growth scan at 36 weeks, and they were like, yeah, quite big and not much fluid left, so we're going to see you again at 38 weeks. Had a growth scan at 38, was it 38 weeks? No, sorry, 37 weeks I had a growth scan, and they basically said that baby was really big still and it really doesn't have much fluid. So then the conversation about induction came up, which I was a bit against induction really. I've done a lot of research on induction, and I thought, oh, do you know what, I'm not really sure it's going to be for me, but the doctor was quite keen for me to do it. She was also very like, totally up to you kind of thing, but she was also keen for me to be induced. But again, mainly because of the low fluid, that was kind of the main reason, but also because baby was big. So they predicted baby at £8.6 at 37 weeks, and they wanted to induce me at 38 weeks on the dot. So anyway, I agreed. We decided that was what we were going to do. We used the kind of hypnobirthing tool, which is called Brain, which if you've done it, you'll know exactly what it is. And it's basically working out the benefits, the risks. I actually can't remember the rest of it, so that's good. But we basically worked out the benefits, the risks, what would happen if we didn't do it, if we didn't be induced, and what would be kind of like, yeah, basically just tried to work out whether it was right for us, which we did. We had a little bit of a chat and decided that it was right for me to be induced. Family history of very big babies. Hello. Decided that's what we were going to do. So we went along with the induction at 39 plus 1 weeks. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my induction story here, but what I don't want is to put anyone off if you're about to have one. or you're thinking that you might go down that route or whatever, I don't want to put anyone off, because this is just my situation. Some inductions are really successful and some are not, i.e. mine. So I had, going back actually, so after they offered me a induction, they also offered me a sweep the same day. So they gave me a sweep and my cervix was completely closed, so they couldn't perform it, so it was a failed sweep. Then I went in for my induction at 39+1, and we started off with a 24-hour pessary, which most people start off with. Well, you can do different things. You can start off with the rods or the pessary. The rods don't have any hormones in them, but the pessary does. So the rods have got like a way less chance of working, basically. So I decided to go for the 24-hour pessary. That was put in about 4 o'clock on Monday, and I started contracting about 11 o'clock that night. So we were like, brilliant, this is absolutely brilliant, this is going ahead. Nothing ever really came of it. So I was contracting, but I had a couple of examinations, and basically I was not dilated at all. So baby Stanley's head wasn't coming down the birth canal enough, basically. I had another examination in the morning, at what point I was really, really uncomfortable. It was about 8 o'clock in the next morning. I was so uncomfortable. It felt like really intense period pains. I was really worried at this point, because I thought, oh no, like I'm really struggling now, and I don't even know like if I'm dilated. Turns out I wasn't even dilated again. So I had another examination, still wasn't dilated. So examination at about 4 o'clock. So basically it'd been 24-hour past, and I thought, right, you know, I reckon I'm definitely dilated, because I was in pain still. Not 1 centimetre dilated still. So they were like, what? Okay, like it's quite common. It's only a 24-hour pessary, but you're still getting contractions. Really bizarre. Not really sure what's going on. So then they said, right, we're going to give you the 6-hour pessary, but I was still contracting too much to have that done at that time, because I was being monitored. And basically if they would have given me the 6-hour pessary, then I would have gone into something called hyperstimulation or something like that. I think that was what it was called, I could be wrong, where basically I will over contract, and it's really, really painful, and it really stresses baby out, and it's just not really a good thing to do. So they were like, right, we're going to wait basically till the next morning to see if we can give you the 6-hour pessary. So I was like, okay, you know, fine. Trying to keep an open mind. I knew inductions would take a long while. We were like really calm at this point, like absolutely fine. Slightly frustrated because I spent the whole morning, basically the whole day in pain, for nothing to come of it. So it was really frustrating, but we were like, no, it was fine. At 11 o'clock, so the next day, so 4 o'clock they examined me, and they said nothing was going to happen. So I had 4 o'clock till 1 a.m. in the morning with nothing, a little bit of contractions, but they were very mild at this point. They kind of died down. At 1 o'clock in the morning I got up to go to the loo, and my waters broke everywhere in the loo, luckily. Not in the toilet, but in the loo. And they were like, oh, okay, brilliant, your waters are broke, this is really good sign, things are going to happen naturally. We're going to give you 24 hours, basically, nothing happens. So that's what they did. They gave me another 24 hours. Nothing had happened. So, and I still was not 1 more centimetre dilated. And they only wanted to do 1 examination because my waters had gone. They didn't want to risk infection and things like that. So the next day, so at this point I had a 24-hour pessary, my waters had gone naturally, and nothing had happened still. So at this point we were kind of running on a little bit of borrowed time, because my waters were going. My waters had gone like 12 hours or something. So they were really worried about infection. So they then realised that my contraction had died down enough to give me the 6-hour pessary. So they gave me that, and again, nothing happened. Didn't dilate a centimetre, nothing happened. And at this point it was kind of like, right, this is go time now, because your waters have been broken, your waters are broke, and we're really worried about infection and things like that. So they offered me the drip, which is the hormone drip. And if you don't know about that, if you're pregnant, I highly, highly recommend reading up about inductions, because if it has to happen to you, there's so much that I'm so glad I was aware of before I went into it, because if I hadn't I think I'd have gone into it a little bit blind and a little bit scared, whereas actually I knew what was going on at all times. Everything they said to me, I was like, yeah, I know what that is. So yeah, definitely research inductions. Anyway, at this point they offered me the hormone drip with an epidural. I declined it. And again, it's not for everyone. This is literally just me, my preference. I read a lot about the hormone drip. I've had a lot of personal experiences about the hormone drip. And it can really stress baby out because it's a really intense form of getting things going. The pessaries and everything, they're quite gentle, whereas the drip is really quite intense. Hence why they basically offer you an epidural with it, because it's so painful. So I did I'm and ah about it, don't get me wrong. So at this point was when we were weighing up whether to go for an elective C-section. So we went for a really long walk around the hospital, and me and Dale were speaking about it for ages. Again, the risks and benefits of both. We spoke to families and friends about it, and they gave our experiences. And overall, we decided that we were going to elect for a C-section. So that is how it all happened. We basically declined the drip to the consultant, who was very negative about the situation. She was very negative towards me having a C-section, which I do understand. She said it's major abdominal surgery, blah. But equally, I'd done a lot of research on the hormone drip, and I felt like it wasn't really something a route I wanted to go down. And it's funny because actually at the start of my whole pregnancy and throughout, the main thing I said was, I'll pretty much do anything as long as it's not a C-section. And I ended up electing for a C-section in the end. So it's so funny, like, keep an open mind whatever you do. And yeah, in the end, basically, we elected for a C-section. The reasons being was because I didn't want the hormone drip for the fact that the baby can get very distressed. I felt like baby wasn't ready at all to come out, considering that I'd had two pessaries and my waters had broke naturally. I felt like if I do this, I just feel like it's going to stress the baby out so much, because it's clearly not wanting to come out at all. And a lot of the time, again, this is just from what I've read, a lot of the time the hormone drip can lead to forceps deliveries and also emergency C-sections. So again, I've done my research, I knew what I was doing, so we elected for a C-section. And actually, considering it was the one thing I didn't want throughout my whole pregnancy, it was the most incredible experience ever. And me and Dale both say that, like, to this day, it was amazing. Going into the C-section was, like, everything about it was amazing. Once we decided, and the consultant actually took us seriously and let us have it, she was just really didn't want me to have it at all. Even to the fact at the end of when I was literally about to go down for my C-section, she asked if she could examine me and see if I was dilated, to basically see if she could put me back on the drip. And I was like, not back on because I wasn't on it, but on the drip. And I basically refused it and was like, no way, I'm not having this. My head's in a C-section now. We're going for a C-section. We've got our gowns on. Like, we are not changing our mind. Which I'm really glad I did, actually. And I was really strong. We both were at that stage. We had to be really strong and put our foot down for what we wanted and the birth that we wanted, because doctors are so... They're so persuasive, and they try and sway you, and obviously you've got to listen to them because it is a medical situation. But at the end of the day, you've got to really advocate for what kind of birth you want, and if that changes, it changes in the birth. It doesn't matter. If you want it, you should have it. And yeah, so she even wanted to check me when we were literally about to go down. So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, everything from the C-section was incredible. Like, even the anaesthetist, when she came and did, like, everything was amazing, and going into the surgery was amazing. They were all lovely. And one thing I've got to say, which still, I don't know, it just makes me really emotional, was the fact that every single person in that room that delivered Stanley was a female. And I don't know why, that just really, I don't know, it makes me really emotional, because I just feel like that wouldn't have happened even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't think. Everyone, the anaesthetist was a female, the surgeon was a female, the consultant was a female, everyone there, all the nurses there, the midwife was a female. Like, it was really incredible, and it was a really calm experience. We had music on. I was really quite nervous when they were putting the injection in. I was really scared. I couldn't stop shaking. And then another thing as well is the anaesthetic makes you shake too. But it was an incredible experience. Everyone was singing to the music that we had on. I'm still emotional at stuff because I'm not even 3 weeks postpartum yet and I still cry, but thinking back to it, it was amazing. I didn't think I'd be like this. And they lifted him up. Obviously we didn't know the gender of what he was. So they lifted him up over the curtain, and then me and Dale both saw him and was obviously like, it's a boy. And it was the most incredible experience of my life. Anyone who's had any birth will know it is the best experience of your life. And just to not know the gender as well was like incredible. And so when they pulled him over, obviously we could see he was a boy, but we said if Dale could call it, and we both called it in the end. We're both like, oh, it's a boy. And he was such a big boy. He is such a big boy. So he turns out he was a 9'11". That's how much he weighed. We did think he was 9'7". Basically we calculated it wrong in theatre, and it turns out he was actually 9'11". So he was a really big boy. So they held him over the top, and all I could see was his boy parts, and we were just like, oh my god, like it was just incredible. So he went over to the no, it's not, because he didn't get resuscitated, but you know, like the cot, I guess. The midwife checked him over. I could hear him like screaming, which was amazing. Dale obviously went over there, cut the cord. They wrapped him up and brought him back, and he was so quiet. After he'd had his initial screaming fit, as soon as he was with Dale, he was so quiet. They did offer to put him on my chest, do skin to skin, things like that, which originally I did want, is what I requested, but I actually declined it at the time because I felt really sick and a bit shaky, which is really common because of the drugs. So yeah, that Dale basically held him the whole time, and then as soon as I was on the bed going wilderness recovery, they put him in my arms and we had a cuddle. God, it's so emotional. And it was just the best thing in the world, and we spent about an hour in recovery just looking at him. I breastfed him, not very well though. I think I was really, the anaesthetic wore off really quick for me, and I was in a lot of pain, so I had to have some more morphine. So I was in a lot of pain, I was very shaky, so Dale had to have him quite a lot to start with, like the first hour. But it was amazing. We did skin to skin. It was just incredible. We FaceTimed our parents, like my brother, and oh, it was just the best thing in the world. The best thing in the world. I can't even describe it. And then we basically got wheeled round after an hour onto the ward. And at this point, it must have been, he was born about 2:30 in the afternoon, so it must have been about half 3. I reckon it was about 5. It was starting to go dark. And then we just basically sat there with him until 9, and then Dale had to go, and obviously had my first night with him, which is very interesting after you've had a C-section, because you literally cannot do anything. You can't pick them up, you can't even move. This is the first night. You literally have to call that buzzer for everything, which I did, and I cannot fault the midwives enough. They were incredible. I rang the buzzer to pick him up, I rang the buzzer to change his nappy, because obviously I couldn't do it and I was on my own. I rang the buzzer to help me with breastfeeding. I rang the buzzer even to get me some more water, because I obviously couldn't get out of bed. And they were there every time, and they were amazing. Like the midwives at West Suffolk Hospital, cannot fault them. They were all incredible. Yeah, so that was the first night. And then the second night, what happened the second night? No, so the first night, well, I thought I'd be going home the next day. But it turns out about 2 PM the next day, I started vomiting, and I was I felt really poorly. And it turns out I basically had a lot of excess gas in my tummy, which is really common apparently after a C-section birth or delivery. Basically they've opened you up, you've been exposed to air, and then they close you back again. So it's really common. And I was really struggling, so I was really ill, I was really sick. I had a lot of pain, and basically they sent me for an x-ray to check that I didn't have like excess gas in my tummy, which I did. So they wanted to keep me in that night. Luckily we managed to get a private room, which was so lucky, but we did have to like ask for it, because basically there was a couple of ladies on the ward that were on the phone 24/7 hours a day, and I couldn't get any sleep, or I couldn't do anything. And I basically walked myself up to the desk and said, please can I have a private room, I beg you, and there was one free. So we were really lucky. Dale managed to stay that night, and then we they wanted me to keep me in another night for the third night, but we ended up self-discharging ourselves at about 10:30 at night, which I don't recommend at all. But we were desperate at this point. We were absolutely exhausted. I needed to get home. Dale wanted to get home. We all just wanted to get home at that point, and I was feeling a lot better. So we got back here about 11:30 at night on day 3, which in hindsight was mental because I still couldn't move much. And it was all dark and it was really, really weird. But we got home, and then we've been home ever since, which has been amazing. And it has honestly been incredible. He's feeding really well now. I'd say he's only been feeding really very well for the last week. So I'd say it took a good week and a half to get any form of latch discovered. So we started formula feeding him as well as breast, but now I am solely breastfeeding him, which is amazing. I want to do a whole separate video on this, by the way, but this is just a little thing of what's actually been going on. And yeah, it's amazing. It's the hardest job in the world, but the best job in the world, and the love that you have for them is crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna go and get him so I can introduce you to him, because he's the best little man in the world and I want to show you him. It's my little Stanley. Okay, so I went to get him out of his Moses basket yesterday to show you him, to introduce Stanley to you all, and it all just went a bit Pete Tong. He needed feeding, he needed changing, and all of a sudden we needed to go because we went to Dale's mum's for a roast dinner, and it was just a bit mental. So I'm going to introduce you to him now. He is here all bunched up in his little carrier, bless his little heart. We've got stuff to do today. Dale's back at work today, and we have had quite a few days of like lounging around, and don't get me wrong, we're still going to do that. But I feel like today Dale's back at work. I need to start to get into a little bit more of a routine. I need to get back into doing work and YouTube and stuff like that. So I've got him strapped in the carrier this morning, and I've already done quite a few bits and bobs, and I'm going to now edit this video to get it up. So yes, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed listening to my birth story. Like I say, please don't take anything from it, especially if you're going in for an induction. Some inductions are brilliant. Don't think that they're all not going to work, because some of them do. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it, and there's going to be a lot more content coming when I get the time. I really want to do like I'm going to do a Q&A. I'm going to try and film that now too, for the questions that you asked me on Instagram. But I'm also going to hopefully do like a day in the life soon with a little newborn and newborn essentials, and yeah, a few more bits and bobs. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you all very soon. Bye. Say bye.